Okay, good morning, good afternoon for us connected in various parts of the world. Thank you for joining us today. My name is George Akoko. I'm a consultant at the FAO Land and Water Division. Thank you for joining us. Just a few housekeeping rules. Mute our phones, and if you have a question or comment, just kindly raise your hand. Our agenda for today is a scene. We have setting the scene from one of my colleagues, and then we have ecosystem-based solutions introductions from our online people in Canada, and then we'll have a quiz. So please pay attention. I have a magic pen. I'll explain it here later. Then a panel discussion, and then a Q&A and closing remarks. So to set us off is setting the scene from Ms. Amani Alfara. She's a land and water officer at FAO. So she has over 20 years experience in natural water resource management, focusing on transborder water management and climate adaptation. So not to say much, I'll introduce her to come and join us on stage, and welcome, Amani.
Thank you, George. Good morning, dear participants in room and online. I want to express my appreciation to all of you for attending this session. A guideline for assessing ecosystem-based solution in agriculture, organized by FAO, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, EMI, IUCN, Arizona State University. Today, I will address some of the global environmental challenge, highlight nature-based solution, as an umbrella term, explore the ecosystem and their complexity, provide examples of agriculture ecosystem-based solution, and discuss the relation to the Sustainable Development Goals. Environmental harmful practice in agriculture, mining and infrastructure development are degraded ecosystem worldwide, threatening food security, water supplies, biodiversity, and exacerbating climate change. If these degradation processes are not urgently addressed, achieving SDGs goals will be out of reach. The UNEP's 2021 State of Finance for Nature report highlighted that 133 billion is currently invested in NBS. The report calls for a triple of this annual investment by 2030 and quadruple by 2050. This poses a significant challenge. Why are we hesitant to invest in our future by adopting nature-based solutions on a wide scale? Raising awareness as integrating these solutions into national plans and legislation is crucial to achieve sustainable development goals. Without immediate action, we risk failing to protect nature and secure sustainable future. Nature-based solutions were first outlining, as you see in the slide, by IUCN in 2016 and revisited by UNEA in 2022. So we are not here to redefine or propose any new definition about nature-based solution. And it was very well recognized for their role in mitigating carbon emission, reducing climate-related disaster risk, and reversing biodiversity losses. Today, NBS are also seen as potential solution to broader societal challenges beyond the climate and biodiversity issues. NBS is considered as an umbrella term for approaches that use nature and ecosystem services to tackle climate change and resources degradation. This overarching concept supports the mainstreaming of various ecosystem-based approaches across international and multilateral agreement, as well as a global framework and their audience. Within the NBS framework, agriculture ecosystem-based solution focus on enhancing the resilience of local agri-food system, promoting sustainable land and water management, and restoring degraded natural resources. As defined by Article 2 of the Convention on Biodiversity, An ecosystem is defined as a dynamic complex of a plant, animal, and microorganism community and their non-living environment, interacting as functional unit. In a practice, ecosystem is a very complex system and very interlinked. Ecosystem can be viewed as adaptive dynamic network of interacting, interconnected components. Ecosystems are inherently complex with numerous factors that must be respected and not overlooked. This complexity arises from the interconnection, and the flows between various components, making each element vital to overall balance and health ecosystem. Ecosystems are typically vast and involve multiple stakeholders who rely on and inhabit the same environment, often with conflicting interests. This situation highlights the challenge of managing common resources, a problem extensively addressed by Elinor Ostrom, the 2009 Nobel Memorial Economic winning prize. Professor Ostrom developed a set of principles for managing the ecosystem that ensures sustainable and economically viable use of natural resources. These management rules can be summarized as: decisions should involve all stakeholders. Custodians who adhere the rules should be rewarded while offenders are penalized. A conflict resolution institute should be established to address disputes. At FAO, agriculture ecosystem-based solution apply Ostrom principles to balance environmental sustainable with commonly well-being and to support the goals of 2030, the SDGs. Ecosystem-based solutions are essential for sustaining ecoservices that support agriculture production, carbon sequestration, and biodiversity conservation. These solutions are directly linked to several sustainable development goals, as shown or illustrated in the slide. Agriculture ecosystem-based solution, at FAO, we had an 24 expert group that we took nature-based solution and we focus on the agriculture practices. So we had defined it, as you see in the screen, as a multidisciplinary action. So it required lots of knowledge from different actions. And in the same time, you see that it required a multi-stakeholder engaged. So this is the definition we are using. And embracing agriculture ecosystem-based solution enables stakeholders to drive positive environmental change by promoting sustainable food production, reducing chemical use, and enhancing ecosystem health. Ecosystem-based solution in agriculture harnessing nature processes and integrate holistic approaches to nature resources management, aiming to boost productivity, improve resilience, and enhance sustainability. FAO support Montreal Agreement while aims to restore at least 30% of degraded ecosystem by 2030. This initiative is crucial for building resilience agri-food system and achieving better production, improving nutrition, healthier environment, and overall better quality of life. Agriculture ecosystem-based solution focus on working with nature to build sustainable future for both communities and our planet. I trust that you will find this session valuable, and I look forward to engaging in a fruitful interactive discussion. I would like to extend my gratitude to all organizers who made this event possible. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Dr. Amani Alfara. Next, we have ecosystem-based solutions. We'll have Dr. Rashid, who's the Director of Research and Technology at Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, and he oversees a team of 50 research scientists covering topics ranging from post-harvest storage and processing to mitigating and adapting to climate change. and he'll be working in tandem with Dr. Nathaniel Newlands, who works at the same institution as a senior research scientist. So if we can have them online, Dr. Rashid, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak at this international event. I will start by providing a high-level overview of the leadership role and the potential of that in Canada to advance some of the main sustainable development goals, namely the climate change and the other goal related to the restoration and management of ecosystems. And then my colleague, Dr. Nathaniel, will expand on that and explain how Canada is playing an important role in advancing these efforts at the international scene. So the Canadian experience, Canada, as you probably all know, is really blessed with diverse and vast ecosystems ranging from wetland to grassland to coastlines to forest. And Canada is really has a lot of initiatives and programs and policies, to manage this nature wealth in the most sustainable way through tools to restore, conserve, and sustainably manage these ecosystems. Next slide, please. So just to give you an idea about what I'm talking about in terms of natural wealth for Canada, just to give you how important is this wealth, 24% of the world's boreal forest exists in Canada. Canada is also home to 24% of the world's wetlands, 2 million lakes, and the world's longest coastlines in the world. So I think that's just to give you an idea about how important is the ecosystem and how important the potential for Canada to capitalize on this wealth. And Canada has made really a commitment to protect this natural ecosystems. We have policies in place to protect 30% of the land and 30% of the oceans by 2030. And we have also a target and a commitment to reach net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2050. Next slide. So this is only one way of managing this ecosystem in the most sustainable way is through a lot of policies and program funding programs. The one that I would like to touch base on is the Nature Smart Climate Solution Fund. This is really a major investment. We're talking about $5 billion for over 10 years. And this consists of 3 main sub-programs. The first one is the plantation of trees. We have $2 billion as 2 billion trees to be planted at a cost of $3.2 billion. We have also $1.4 billion allocated to Nature Smart Climate Solution. This is mostly about the protection, the restoration, and the conservation of ecosystems. And the third one, which is $885 million, is related to agricultural climate solutions. And I will touch a little bit on that later on in my slides. The idea here, what the expected results, as I was going to say, is to reduce greenhouse gas emission by 30% by 2030 and to get to that net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2050. Along with that, we have also reduced the loss of biodiversity. So let's dig a little bit deeper, but I will just give you some examples of projects. This is not exhaustive by any means. For the wetlands, for instance, Canada has invested $25 million in the prairies to protect wetlands. And this will conserve up to 30,000 hectares, restore up to 6,000 hectares, and contribute to enhanced management of 18,000 hectares of wetlands. And there are similar projects like this one all around the country. Next slide, please. In terms of grassland, Again, I'm just highlighting here one small project in Ontario, where Canada is investing $24 million in partnership with some conservation authorities, not-for-profit organization, the provincial government of the Ontario, and the whole idea here, or the target, or the expected result, or to protect over 2,400 hectares, restore 22,500 hectares, and retain the species at risks. That's just one example. Next slide, please. In terms of coastlines and lakes, as I mentioned earlier, Canada has the largest coastline in the world. There are 2 million lakes, so I think we need to protect those. We need to protect those resources. And Canada, this is just one example again. Canada has committed for us to enhance the conservation of its ocean by 30% by 2030, and they have committed $976 million in funding to support marine conservation efforts and to advance marine conservation for sustainable growth in ocean sectors. Next slide, please. In terms of forests also, this is really a major, as you know, the forests play an important role, not only in terms of carbon sequestration, but also protecting biodiversity, protecting soil, and all that stuff. So there's a lot of benefit that comes with maintaining these forests and managing them in a sustainable way. This is one example where Canada is investing $89 million for 10 greenhouse gas emission reduction projects through Nature Smart Climate Solution. And the idea here, or the expected outcomes here, is to expect to protect over 6,800 hectares of land, protect old growth forest, and support multiple species at risks. Next slide, please. This one is related to agricultural climate solution. This is very specific to agriculture. And this is one of the areas that I am leading. We have two major really programs. The first one is called the Living Labs, and the other one is the On-Farm Climate Action Fund. Both these programs, they involve a partnership with farmers themselves, with not-for-profit organization, with other level of government, with academia, working together, to develop those best management practices, and by doing the research on farmers' land, with the involvement of farmers in the co-development of these pest management practices. So it has been really very, very successful programs, and the expectation is these two programs will contribute significantly to increasing carbon sequestration and to reducing greenhouse gas emission, while having some other side benefits in terms of biodiversity, for instance, conservation. Next slide, please. And this is also, again, talking about the Living Lab. I think we have over 50 best management practices that they were co-developed, tested, and evaluated on producers' fields. And these best management practices ranges from techniques to improve soil and water conservation, maximize habitat capacity and biodiversity, reduce water contamination, and mitigate and adapt to climate change. I will pass it now to Dr. Nathaniel Newlands to talk a little bit more specifically about the work he has been doing, that Canada is funding and working jointly with our partners from FAO. Nathaniel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Rashid, and very pleased to be here presenting to you today. And just for a few minutes, wanted to highlight some of the ongoing activities. This work ties in with a lot of the work Rashid has described taking place within Canada. So at the international level, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada has provided the seed funding and continues participation in the FAO project through the Land and Water Division called Nature-Based Solutions and Green Infrastructure to address food, water, climate complexities in agriculture. And so we've been co-leading and a newly established expert working group on agricultural MBS or ecosystem-based solutions. And this purpose of this is to really integrate the best available science into assessing MBS activities on the ground, and to advance the work across the food, water, climate nexus to integrate, as I said, existing scientific evidence, data, expert knowledge, together with latest innovations, governance, and policy tools. And from this to deliver a roadmap to accelerate action and then to scale up based on available case studies around the world, use the best available protocols and best practices. Next slide. And so I'm pleased to report that Amani and I and others as part of the project have been able to pilot several case studies or implementation activities, one in Grenada, Jordan, and in Canada as well. I won't go into too much detail here, but just to say that there are small-scale community-based restoration activities in Grenada, one looking at grey water infrastructure at a mosque site in Jordan, and also work that builds upon the decades of work done by Ducks Unlimited in managing wetlands and habitat conservation across North America. Next slide. I just wanted to highlight for those attending today that we do have a forthcoming joint publication, pleased to announce, with the FAO and Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, along with Springer Nature. And this is forthcoming this year. It's entitled Urban Food Security in a Crisis-Prone World, and really delves into, again, these complexities and the nexus between urban water and food. It provides a critical examination of the impact of current global challenges that involve pandemic, war, climate change, and what they have as a cascading impact on global food security. It also looks at vertical and integrated systems, both in the urban and peri-urban farming context, looking at sustainable best practices, self-provisioning, optimal farm allotments, and alternative governance systems. So the idea here is to build a lot of integrated knowledge that can be used to accelerate and transform action across the globe. It also looks at a role of decision agriculture, so digital agriculture in transforming and redesigning farming systems. And the idea is to provide, it has provided a set of recommendations and a future roadmap for concrete policy interventions. This involved basically 21 authors across 8 countries, in multidisciplinary, also government, academia, and industry. And it consists of around 14 chapters. So I hope you'll look out for this in the coming year. Next slide. Just to very briefly highlight here, Amani has reported on some of these statistics. I think they're fairly well known, but we have our challenges ahead for us. There's obviously a growing urban population. There's a demand for food and urban water demands in particular over the next 30 years. Also, questions on how we balance the agricultural draws with other demands as they grow. So, this is why we need to look at this as an integrated approach and systems of management. EbS or MBS offers potential opportunities to tackle global food security, while also looking at other issues like, biodiversity loss, climate change, promoting human health, reducing foods insecurity, and improving the resilience of communities themselves. As I mentioned, we've also have a growing importance of digital technologies, both in the public and private sector. We're looking at ways to increase adoption and innovation for redesigning food systems. And finally, there's a real interest in integrated crop livestock systems as a way of minimizing environmental costs of livestock production and other associated costs and sustainability benefits involving the energy required to manufacture and transport. So again, we've delved into quite some detail recommendations and roadmap for addressing these challenges ahead. Thank you very much. And I guess I'll hand it over to George to provide more context and details of the EbS assessment tool, and also Mr. Adam Wicks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nathaniel and Dr. Rashid. Indeed, it's quite commendable what Canada is doing on this front, and as FAO, we look to continued collaboration on this front. So next, we'll have a video with no audio, but luckily we have our speaker online. He's Adam Wicks, a PhD candidate at University of Victoria, and he's an experienced application developer in specializing spatial data solutions. So Adam, if you can hear us online. Adam? Okay. He's not online? Okay, I'll go ahead. If you can just press the play button on the bottom left corner of that video on my computer. Yes. Sorry about that, but at FAO, we are developing an agriculture ecosystem-based tool. The previous slide was the dashboard, so I'll briefly go over it and how it's developed. So on the project details, when the cursor opens, you enter the name of the project, the country, the applicant, and this is just basically qualitative data describing your project. So once you do this, you also have some more details which you're prompted to, but because as we've seen from previous observations, not all detail is available. So the tool will not stop once you miss a certain box or information. So you continue project acronym, who was the applicant, who was the sponsor. Okay. Yes, okay, the videos continue, yes. The project budget, who are the project partners, the sponsors. Once you enter this information, it's saved in the user's PC. Important to note that this tool, for the moment, it is Excel-based. So whichever information you enter, it's stored within the user's computer. FAO does not have any access to this tool, so it's locally stored in your computer. Once you enter these details, you click on Create. So the project is created and it's saved in your PC. Then you'll proceed to enter the project key performance indicators, KPIs. So from here, you go and recall your project. So ours was a demo. Then you click on the design phase. Our tool can monitor a project through 3 phases: the design, implementation, or the final phase. And the project currency, currently we have 3. Then you click on the next button. So we have 2 levels, the watershed level or the farm level. So integrated water resource management, and AWM would be agriculture water management level. So for this sample is this. And this is basically the home dashboard. But before you continue, there's just a cursor which guides you on what information to enter where. So in case you are lost or maybe cannot recall what information to input. So first, we'll enter the baseline. So you can see the tool is based on the OECD DAC criteria, the 5 criteria. And on your extreme left is the theory of change, where we enter our project output and outcomes. So important to note, also for validation, we try to, as much as possible, create space for the source of the data where it was obtained from. So once we enter all these details, degree of transparency, so the rubric is designed from a range of 1 to 5, or yes to no, with predefined descriptions. So once we go through this tab, enter all the details, select, add the source of the data, are custodians rewarded, yes or no? So these are more or less direct questions. We try to keep the source as much as possible because for validation purposes. On that icon, if you click, this is our theory of change, explaining how it was devised and designed. Then that's our OECD DAC criteria. Please keep note of this. It will be in the quiz. Relevance, oh, sorry. I hope you captured it as well. Then when you click on next, now these are the key performance indicators for the OECD DAC criteria on sustainability. What are the formal agreements? Were they informal between stakeholders? What's the quality of the agreement? And remember, these are all, you can always go and check what information to enter on the left bottom corner. Then we have the DAC criteria on efficiency, and the theory exchange describes the activities. Then we also have additionality and relevance. So it's basically you're answering questions based on some predefined rubrics with the aggregated score. Then we continue to watershed level key performance indicators. So for this, we already entered some information before just to save on the time, but it's quite straightforward. It's important to mention this tool is in the tail end stages of development, so we hope to be releasing it in the near future. So keep an eye out for our FAO Land and Water Division website for further details. Then we continue to watershed level key performance indicators on sustainability. Again, we have the predefined rubric, and then the baseline, what's the target, and then the theory of change here is describing the impacts, and also you enter your source of data. Then you have the final ones, additionality and relevance. For example, the contribution financial means in kind. If it's the baseline, what was the target, then what was realized. Important you add the source of this information, so allows for easier tracking of the info. And the relevance as well. Important to note one of the challenges we observed in the testing. We've tested around 60 case studies across the globe. Not all this information is available, so it's also an important learning point on designing projects and what information could be shared. Then on the project scores, you recall the project name, then for which phase you are entering the data or do you want to assess. For in this particular case, it was in the design phase. So these are kind of the outputs you expect. Please remember this information, again, is stored in the user's local PC, and FAO has no access to this because you download the tool and you use it within your computer. So for the OECD DAC criteria, you can see on the bottom right corner of those boxes, you can see the diagrams it presents to you, the design phase, the 5 criteria, what were the scores, the outputs. You can also have it also shows you how many questions you answered. You can see in the bottom right corner of the small OECD boxes, 9, 7, or 2, or 25. Then you can also see the tables on the final phase, the implementation phase, and the design phases. So all this can be quite useful, especially if you have all this information for a project ranging from its design, implementation, and the final stages. You can see what criteria was addressed, what was missing, where you might be short-handed, or even, better yet, where you are overperforming, if that's the case. So this information can be summarized, and it's exported in a PDF file. And you can also see some scores on the outputs and activities. So when you come to you can export it as a PDF for the full report and the detail sheet. You can also export this data scores to a CSV file. Remember, in the initial steps I mentioned it is Excel-based. Important to note, for it to run on any PC, you have to enable the macros. So you'll recall your project name. It will print out these were your project details. You can update them at this stage if needed. Then you export your PDF. Then this is a sample of what you described, and combined with the previous slides we showed on the output scores. So in the later stages, I'll also give an opportunity to one of our developer, Ben. He's online. He can also chime in and add a word or two or something which might be important to our audience. We mainly target stakeholders, donors, government agencies, non-governmental organizations who are mainly involved in developing agriculture interventions. And yes, so you can see this. The scale here was from 0 to 5, where 5 would be a very high or more acceptable high score, and on the 0 would be underperforming or room for improvement, given based on the stage you were assessing. And yes, so that would be the 2 for now. So apologies for Adam not being online. Maybe he was connecting from Canada, so maybe the time zone might have skipped. So that's our tool. We are finalizing its development. It's been extensively reviewed. As I mentioned again and reiterate, please be on the lookout for our Land and Water Division website where it will be launched in the near future.
It's worth to mention that the publication of the tool will be available like the guideline. The report will be available online. How many case studies it was?
I already mentioned we reviewed around 60 case studies.
60 case studies test the robustness of the tool. This is with the help of our expert working with you who are member with us. So through different organizations, EMI and other organizations that provided some case studies and they tested, and government. So we have like Argentina, they provided feedback. So this was tested and we saw the results. So that's what I wanted to mention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amani, for that intervention. So on our program next, we have a video produced by our division on agriculture ecosystem-based solutions. I'll just request our IT support to click on the bottom left play button on my computer. Thank you. Okay, I really love the silence levels, which means we were paying close attention. So for now, I'll request our support to just lock the doors because no one is escaping our quiz. So for us in here, please scan the QR code. And also for our online participants, I believe Ching Ching should be posting a link for you to join. I see some people scanning the code and have already done this quiz, so you can do it, but you're eliminated from the prize award. So. Okay, Yafkari, Alex, Muhammad. Okay. Let's see, Dave, Babette, Hector, Christopher. Just a point to note, the questions are timed, 20 to 25 seconds, so please be on your fastest Twitter fingers, if I may say. Let's give you a few more minutes. I'm seeing one important person is yet to join. Rosida, not yet. I'm not seeing your name. Ching Ching. Okay, I think we have a more or less enough quorum. Okay. Okay, the rest will find us moving. So, of course, we'll applaud those who perform well, and those who don't perform so well. There's a big black door behind me, and there's remedial classes here. Okay, I'll start. So which of the following is an example of agriculture ecosystem-based solutions in agriculture? Synthetic fertilizers, GM modification, monoculture. So we're wrapping up this one in 5, 4. We're also timing your speed to 1, and we are done. So everyone got this, that's good. So we might modify the prizes a bit, okay? So Asa is quite fast, that's good, okay. There's someone who also named themselves with a dot, which is still fine. So number 2, it's a quick true and false one. There's a lot of time, but EbS in agriculture can help reduce the need of chemical fertilizers. Yes, no? Okay, and in 5, 4, I see some people are quite fast. Okay, that's good. Okay, Mani, we have a very good audience. Okay. So Luis has stepped up, which is good. Okay, Luis. Conservation tillage is an ecosystem-based solution that helps maintain soil moisture and reduce erosion. True or false? Wow, some even answer and put down the phone. Maybe next time we'll try more difficult ones. Okay, that's good. And then we have, we are halfway, so 3 more to go, and 1. The remedial class is open. And then you go to number 4. Luis is still on top. This one is a bit more time. So agriculture ecosystem-based solutions, they provide a systematic approach to assess the progress and impact of an intervention over time and to achieve several objectives. So please select all correct statements. It was hidden somewhere in the video, in someone's speech. So foster improvement, optimize resource allocation, identify successful interventions and strategies, and promote unsustainable watershed management. So which are all the correct? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we are in for remedials for sure. 2 more to go. Ching Ching and Luis and Kari, okay, and Tony. So we target to agriculture ecosystem-based solutions. We target to contribute to SDG target 2.4 on sustainable food production systems and SDG target 6.5 on integrated watershed resource management at all levels. true or false. One and done. And to the last one. Okay. Ching ching, Luis. Luis has been on top. Okay, good to go, Luis. So number 6, we mentioned the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, Development Assistance Committee, the 6 criteria. Which one of the following is not? So relevance, coherence, effectiveness, efficiency, impact, drought, and sustainability. Which one is not? Okay, I see some people more or less done. So 3, 2, and 1, and okay. So drought, of course, is not. And Kari, is she in the room? Yeah, a round of applause. And also for Tony, I believe he's online, so the online team can just give you a thumbs up. And the hardest questions was number 4, ecosystem-based solutions provide a systematic approach to assess the product of an intervention over time to achieve the objectives which were aforementioned. So we'll close the remedial for now, but I believe this recording will be available online, so you can go and do the revisions, then hopefully CIWI will invite us next year for a tougher quiz. Okay. Thank you all for your participation, and a round of applause to all of us. I'll now invite our panelists for the panel discussion, if they could kindly join us to the stage. So maybe we can sit from Professor Kave, Dr. Malin, Ms. Maria Anna, Ben is online, and Ms. Kari on my extreme right. Okay. In the interest of time, I'll just introduce their names and organizations. So Professor Kave, on my immediate right, is an environmental scientist, and he is currently the director of United Nations University Institute for Water and Environmental Health. Next is Dr. Kari Vijastrol. She's the director of water science and water security science for Nature Conservancy Global Water Program. Next to her, right in the middle, is Ms. Maria Ana Borges, Water for Landscapes Manager at the International Union for Conservation of Nature. And Professor Ben Sonneveld, I believe is connected online. Thank you for joining us, Ben. Professor Emeritus at Vrije University, Amsterdam, and Senior Research Fellow at the Amsterdam Center for World Food Studies. And next to Maria is on the second most extreme on my right, Ms. Dr. Malin Lundberg from Stockholm Water International Institute, and she leads the work on the links between water, landscape, and biodiversity. And on the extreme right would be Dr. Yusuf Brozin from International Water Management Institute, and he is the regional representative for IMI in the Middle East, North Africa region. So these details are also posted in the chat for our online participants, so feel free to write your questions with your name in the chat, and we'll post them to them later. But to start us off, okay, yes, you have the mic, Professor Kave. I'd like to pose a question to you. So how can funding from our public and private sector and international organizations be effectively utilized to, for EbS project implementation at the national, regional, and global levels? Professor Kave.
Very tough question. Thank you for this exciting session and the invitation, of course. I think one of the major challenges we have is, it's this fundamental challenge of valuation of ecosystem services, and that kind of affects this space to an extent, and it's very hard for us to assess the return on investment and convince the investors in the value of this. So I think developing frameworks of assessment that is agreeable, they're economically valid and well understood by the policymakers is a good step forward, and that helps us to better track progress, understand what we are doing, make sure that the public funds are not wasted in any way, and the fundings are being used effectively. I think both FAO and UNCCD have been at least working on this, on the economics of drought. A recent report has been published by FAO on the matter, and then UNCCD would be releasing one new report in December in Riyadh in the next COP, which would be on this to essentially provide a framework of analysis and a basis for making decisions regarding investments in this sector that would be useful.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Kave. Indeed, one of the goals of our tool is also to address this challenge of valuation of ecosystem services and hopefully contribute to convincing donors on this return on investments. I'll proceed to Professor Ben Sonneveld. I believe he's online. Ben, can you hear us? Okay, maybe in the interest of time, I'll circle back to him at the end of this session, then we can move to Maria Anna. So my question to you is, how important is stakeholder engagement, including farmers, local communities, and investors in the successful implementation of ecosystem-based solutions in agriculture, considering these EbS benefits they accrue and could be realized in the long term?
Thanks, George, and thank you for the opportunity to speak at this interesting session. I'll start by saying that, for IUCN as a membership organization with 1,400 member states and civil society organizations, as well as more than 15,000 experts, individuals in our commissions, stakeholder engagement is key. So it's a no-brainer for us that it should be part and parcel of what we do and everything we engage in. And so for us, obviously, related to that, when we work in landscapes, especially in productive agricultural landscapes, it's really important to engage communities and farmers and other stakeholders to look at how to design and implement nature-based solutions. I think a couple of examples off the top of my head from the work that we do on the ground to perhaps give a bit of kind of color and context to why it's important to engage stakeholders is, for example, in Tanzania and Mozambique, we have a program that focuses around both implementing sustainable agriculture and climate resilient agricultural production alongside implementation of nature-based solutions on the ground. And we essentially, to do this in a sustainable manner, we engage with local communities, with farmers, with businesses who work in the landscapes where we engage, and also with local government to really make sure that whatever is being done is done in the spirit of sustainability, because organizations like ours are there for the long haul, but also like the people need to benefit. And also because we realize that it really means that the design of the work that we do on ecosystem-based solutions is very, integrated. Another example from another completely different region is the MENA region, where water scarcity is a very kind of pressing issue, and we work with actually IMI to develop a program on resilient water and nature-based solutions, which integrates agricultural water management and integrated water resources management. And in this program, again, we've been designing these pilot solutions which are about integrating these two things, and we engage communities and women groups and also youth to design these with us. So yes, I think it's absolutely essential to engage stakeholders. I think one way to do it is IUCN has a nature-based solution standard, which is very much along the steps of the nature-based solution standard. You have how, it provides guidance on how to integrate stakeholders in the different elements. So I would advise, alongside the tool that FAO has been developing, to really engage with the IUCN standard to do this. So for now, this is my main intervention. I'm not sure
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just to also reiterate, we hope that our tool will be able to complement, also work alongside your IUCN standard. And just to quote you for today, I like that part on engagement for sustainability and community benefits. So we'll put that in quotation and they'll read it somewhere in the future. Thank you so much. So next I'll move to Ms. Kari. My question to you would be, how do ecosystem-based solutions contribute to biodiversity conservation, and why is this important for agriculture sustainability?
Yeah, great question, and thanks for the invitation to be here. This has been an interesting session. So just by the nature of what, and you saw the definitions of ecosystem-based solutions and nature-based solutions, they're really intended to build the health of local ecosystems by varying degrees and depending on the type of intervention. It does vary between different kinds of interventions. But by supporting the ecosystem health, they can help sustain or improve biodiversity of different kinds of ecosystems. For example, by restoring or protecting riparian or edge of field vegetation, you can by improving that ecosystem, it helps provide habitat for different kinds of fauna, pollinators, birds, and other types of fauna. However, we need to be really intentional about the selection, the design, and implementation of these interventions to actually deliver on those biodiversity benefits. It's not just a given that if we do a certain practice, it will deliver on some of the biodiversity benefits. So it's really important to be intentional about that and think about how we put these interventions in place. And even with a given intervention, depending on different places, it could have a different degree of benefit for biodiversity. And this includes understanding trade-offs of these different solutions and also synergies of these solutions as well, and using native species if we're doing anything like replanting vegetation, making sure that we're using native species for any of those restoration efforts. In terms of the benefits to agricultural sustainability, one example is those types of interventions that support local pollinators. It's been shown to help with crop productivity and in some cases even the nutrient benefits of those specific crops to have a really healthy pollinator habitat and support pollinator population. Another example is when ecosystem-based solutions are used elsewhere in the watershed, such as upstream of where agriculture is happening. That can really help maintain the system in the hydrologic system in terms of delivering clean, reliable water for irrigation for agriculture. And then other kinds of interventions that help improve soil health can be beneficial to diversity of soil microbes, and soil health is obviously really important in terms of agricultural production and sustainability of that production over time.
Thank you so much, and also for highlighting those extensive examples on this importance for agricultural sustainability. So I don't know if you can check if Ben is online or not yet. Okay, we'll continue.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben, you're online? Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just take a small segue out and then just recognize that Ben is a recently retired Professor Emeritus, so just a round of applause for over 30 plus years on your career, Ben. I know you didn't expect this, but we wish that retirement is already treating you well.
Yeah.
Now we have questions for you. We still have you, Ben. So how can we identify these barriers and enablers for expansion of ecosystem-based solutions, agriculture interventions? And how does evaluation of the project impact, how does this relate to the overall assessment of a project?
Yeah, thanks, George. Those are important questions. And I think what an added value of this of the presented tool is that you build up a database, and that can be used for two purposes. First is at project level, just to monitor and to follow the outcomes and the progress of the project. So that also allows to have a timely intervention if needed, if any delays are at stake. And at a different level is that when you prepare and make a larger database of several projects, then you can also see what kind of key performance indicators, or at the aggregated level of the theory of change and the DAC criteria, you can see what kind of correlations there are between the successful projects and the different indicators. And that all allows you also to analyze at a somewhat higher level what kind of when you start to expand or initiate other initiatives, what fields are of importance to let the project be successful. And I think that is an added value of this tool and of this approach. Though the technique, the monitoring and evaluation framework is quite straightforward, we have seen in practice that very little attention is being paid to the monitoring and evaluation, and actually it is very much underrated by the executioners of projects. So I really would like to make a claim here that whenever you set up a project, that sufficient resources are being allocated to comply with the monitoring and evaluation framework. So that was my message here, George.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. I'll move on to Dr. Malin, the program manager at Stockholm International Water Institute. So my question to you would be, how can ecosystem-based solutions help mitigate the impacts of climate change on agriculture, and in addition to promoting resilient landscapes?
Thanks so much, George, and I'm really happy to be able to be here today with you. I have led a report where we look at links between freshwater and climate change mitigation. And one of the main results in that report is that we need to work with integrated approaches. And the challenges that we are facing today, the food crisis, water crisis, climate change, biodiversity loss, whatever the crisis that we are facing or want to work with, I think we all agree on is that we really require a transformative change, a big change, and that requires holistic and integrated approaches. And those kind of approaches, that is that we address different kinds of stakeholders, different kinds of sectors, different kinds of levels. So it's this complexity that, as Amani was mentioning in the beginning, and that is complex and tricky, and it requires a lot of time and thinking. But that, I think, is the very way forward for us in order to create these transformational changes. And those changes, that they entail many of these solutions that we have heard about today: restoring degraded lands, restoring agricultural soils, reducing pollution, circular energy, for example. But the big impact that comes through these integrated solutions, where we unite many ecosystem-based or nature-based solutions, and that can be, for example, through a water basin plan or a landscape approach. And as a forester, I would like to stress the importance of forests for securing water resources and hydrological flows in agriculture. And we are also developing a tool. So I was really happy to be invited here and hear about your tool. Our tool is called Water Smart Forest and Landscape Restoration Tool. And it's about ensuring that the water perspectives are there when we are planning for restoration initiatives, because there is so much funding going into restoration in the world, and many times water is not taken into account as much as it should, and that's what we are trying to work with that tool. So I'm really curious to try your tool, and I hope that you would also like to try ours, and we can maybe meet and discuss and learn from each other. Thanks.
For sure, Dr. Malin, and just for our in-person participants, the report that Dr. Malin alluded to before is titled The Essential Drop to Net Zero: Unpacking Freshwater's Role in Climate Change Mitigation. So this is in the chat, so our online participants could have easily accessed that. And we also look forward to your Water Smart Forest Landscape Restoration tool. So I think our last panelist is Dr. Yusuf. My question to you would be, what measures are needed to accelerate the adoption of agriculture ecosystem-based solutions by the relevant stakeholders, and what roles should be played by them?
Thank you, George. Hi everyone. So thank you, George, for the question. Thanks to you and to Dr. Amani and also to FAO team for the invitation and also for making this very, very nice session happen today, and to your partners as well. Regarding your question, and I will try to reflect on it from a research and development perspective, which is the focus of my organization, the International Water Management Institute, but basically also from the perspective of the region that I'm focusing on, which is MENA. So no need to speak again about the water scarcity situation in this region. And let me start from the awareness crisis that we need to focus on in this region, specifically within the decision-making base. Decision makers in the region are, because of the criticality of water scarcity in the region, they are in the rush of solutions for immediate action, immediate effects to either make agriculture performant, productive, or to save water or to bring water, etc. So convincing these people to use or to consider ecosystem-based solutions / nature-based solutions is a task that I think is a responsibility of everyone. I mean, research development organizations like FAO, IUCN, and all these prestigious organizations, but also finance institutions. We keep hearing from the IFIs and MDBs that they are here to serve the needs of their partners, governments. And since government, they are prioritizing grey infrastructure, so they will go and discuss about grey infrastructure. And nature-based solutions or ecosystem-based solutions are not necessarily on the table. So you can see that it's a shared responsibility, and I think as research and development institutions, our responsibility is to provide tools, and today we are discovering this very interesting tool on which I thank you, and we are very happy to be consulted in its development. We need also to provide data and show the benefits. Here I will talk about cost-benefit analysis approaches. That's on which we believe, which is a way to show the different, let's say, perspectives of the costs and benefits to each stakeholder type. This is one. The second thing that I would like to touch on is about policies and regulations. As Maria said, we enjoy working with IUCN in a very big project, regional project happening in Lebanon, Jordan, West Bank, and Egypt, which is very participative-centric. And we try to demonstrate nature-based solutions to save water, but also to make agriculture system resilient. We have also other ongoing activity with WFP in Iraq, where we are trying to leverage wetlands, for example, to improve the quality of water. And we are targeting here the agricultural runoff. So you can see we are still working within the agricultural context. So what policies we should have in place to accommodate this kind of solutions, for example, within the Iraqi water strategy, and what standards, what norms of wastewater reuse that we should have, again, to make some space for this kind of solutions. So these are the questions that we are trying to focus on from policy and regulation perspective to enable the environment for this kind of solutions by testing, piloting, but also dialogues within the all stakeholder base, policymakers, farmers, NGOs, CSOs, and also finance institutions. The last point that I will try to highlight here is about business models, the right business models to make this kind of solution more present in the mix of solutions that we need to have to achieve water security, not only in MENA, but worldwide. We all know that these kind of solutions have a long-term payback. In a region here, I'm focusing on MENA, in a region where the economic situation is not really brilliant, at least in big parts of it, where the focus is to secure food, to secure jobs, and also to secure immediate access to water. So how can we provide finance solutions to this kind of options to save water and also to increase the resilience of agriculture system and its sustainability? So these are the questions. I think with the rise of carbon markets, I see it a really big opportunity. In MENA, we are not really at that level. We have some champions who are catching up, like in Egypt, of course, in some GCC countries, Morocco, but we are not really on that level here in terms of roles. Of course, governments enabling development from policy perspective. We have also the privilege of having really very active private sector from large corporates, but also SMEs. And at EMI, we are enjoying, for example, working with more than 50 SMEs in MENA, from Morocco to Iraq. They are focusing on Wi-Fi Nexus solutions, and we have some SMEs who are offering really interesting innovations that can be mapped to ecosystem-based solutions. And we are trying to work with them to make their business model attractive to many sources of funding, blended funding, obviously, but also climate-focused funds. So yeah, from my side, awareness increase with the governments, working out viable business models, but also working on enabling policies and regulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yusuf, for that, and also highlighting also the business model aspect. And also to note that we also thank Dr. Yusuf and EMI for, he's one of our active participants in our expert working group, and also for contributing to reviewing the tool and also our guidelines, which the publication is upcoming. So I'll request our panelists to please stay on stage as we move to our question and answer session. So I see we have a question online, but I'll give precedence to maybe a few questions from the floor here. So please, if you have a question, just raise your hand, your name and organization. So, okay, we'll start from left and then slide to the, so the gentleman over there.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you very much for the session. It's very interesting. My name is Mohammed Al-Qadi. I'm from Technical University of Munich. My question is to FAO about the tool. I really like the tool, but I'm wondering if you use, because as I understand, each KPI has two elements, one from the OECD and one from the theory of change, right? Yeah, but like you have this effectiveness, and then in the effectiveness, for example, from OECD, there is impact. I see it in the presentation. I mean, I think each KPI, as I understand, is linked with one OECD and one theory of change element, right? Okay, so in the theory of change, the last or the final element in the hierarchy is the impact, while in the OECD, we have sustainability, which is also related to impact, and we have impact. So how did you link these two together? Like how you selected which one is linked to which impact, to which element, sorry. This is the first part. And the second part of the question, we have three phases, like design, implementation, and final. And I believe that some indicators, they are more important in some phase than others. So do you use weight for that? Do you give heavier weight for the design, for example, for some indicators, but lower in the implementation? Thank you.
Ben, do you want to take it?
Now I was to forward it to Ben. So Ben, you can start and I can add on.
Very good questions and remarks. Let me start with the first one. Indeed, in both the theory of change and the DAC criteria, the word impact falls. And if you take a closer look at it, they almost look the same. So in that sense, the KPIs that are used for the long-term impact of the intervention, they are related to the impact, or in certain cases, sustainability as the long-term impact, and they have indeed one KPI that coincides with both elements. The other question was again, sorry.
Kali, do you want to repeat it? Right?
The second question was related to the weights, that some indicators are more important in some phases than others. So have you used the weights in this, or just you use the same weight for everything, which I believe that the result will not be very accurate.
Thank you for that. And that is very important. And it also might be used to start manipulating the outcomes by giving different weights to the KPI scores that are being preferred. So far, and what you have seen, these are unweighted means that were shown. There is a possibility, and analytically, it is not so very difficult to add indeed weights to the different key performance indicators, so that you get weighted means, weighted averages per criteria or per TOC level.
If you allow me, Ben, I just want to follow up on what you've mentioned. The weighted criteria is that it is there, but the person himself will put the number, so it has a rank. So it's from your perspective when you design the project, and this is to answer also your project, you have prioritized some area. That was your vision when you designed it. But when you went to reality, you found different. But when you look to the criteria, like you aim to train 100 people, but you couldn't. In reality, you only trained 20 because of different things. So that's when you start the implementation. But then how you can overcome this challenge, how you can make a buy-in in the community, how you can, so that you keep it changing. This is the idea when you have the design. So it's no other people will evaluate you. It's you to enhance your own implementation, designing, maybe things that you didn't think about it to be considered in the project. So you can see some parameter, because like this went through different, like we have different feedback from our partners and members. So we kept it changing and adding or removing some element through different projects. So this is the idea. So also the report, we try to make it useful for you, that at the end, what you invested in putting in the tool, you can use it in your reporting in the same time. This is why we put the summary. So nothing of this database will remain with FAO. It's you download and you work. But this is the idea of design, implementation, final stage. And then you see yourself, your performance, was it more towards sustainability, or you did really impact? So, but there are numbers that where you enter, we put the rank, Ben, but we don't, from the weight, but we don't weighted, you weighted. And that will affect the output. You can say this element is 1 and this is 5 during the design, but maybe you change your mind during implementation. So that's what make it change. But I don't know if that's what you aim. We can discuss later.
Okay, I'll take another question from the lady right behind, and there was another. Yes, 2.
Hi, Hi, I'm Salam Mahouzi, a journalist writing an article for Forbes. I have a question for Professor Madani. Can you please tell us a little bit more about your upcoming UNCCD report?
Thank you for the question. So the report I referred to, the UNCCD report, is, as I mentioned, is trying to make a case that providing finance to nature-based solutions is an effective mechanism for drought resilience. The entry point in most of the cases that would be included in the report would be land. So land and water nexus I think that's the main focus. The involved party, so the support is from GIZ and UNCCD. And then UNU, Inway, our organization is leading the effort and coordinating the effort. We're working with country groups, a range of countries that have cases. They have done the implementation and working with them to do estimations of the costs and benefits to be able to make cases. The report would be launched in Riyadh on the Finance Day. I believe it's December 11th, if I'm not mistaken. And so hopefully we'll have some sort of impact. But if not, at least it should serve as a reference for the community on how we can also, like, one step further on some of the actions we take is to document and estimate. In ecosystem service valuation, we always discuss this, that there is no method that gets the value right, but in the absence of valuation, then the policymakers would not make the best decisions. So maybe even a wrong estimation or an inaccurate estimation is better than not having it. Yeah, so it would be a joint UNCCD and UNU report that would be launched. Sure, yeah. And I think you are also launching a report there, or would it, it's something?
This is already launched, and it's online. Thank you. I'll just allow one last very concise question for the gentleman in front of me, and Ching Ching will read us. Oh, yes, go ahead.
It's a concise question, but I don't know that the answer will be. We've enjoyed and have more and more used the concept. Sorry, I'm Paul Hicks from CRS. And the term and everything that has been built around nature-based solutions. As an agriculturalist, I really love the idea of ecosystem-based solutions. Sorry. And so kind of the question is, why add EbS? And NBS seems to do a good job at incorporating these elements. And so I see the opportunity to be more precise, but also some risk of kind of confusing two approaches that are very similar. Okay. The question would be kind of to TNC and IUCN, as you've been the champions behind NBS.
Excellent. I think I'll best direct that question to our FAO officer here, Ms. Amani. And Amani, sorry, I'll give you a timer on 30 seconds. Go. Here you go.
In FAO, we work as nature-based solution until we have the direction as a governing body that they didn't let us say nature-based solution. So for FAO, ecosystem-based solution is nature-based solution. It's not adding a new terminology, and we are not redefining. We just focus in our work on agricultural practices on nature. This is where we put the definition. We were talking even with our expert and with our tool, because we are FAO, we wear our own umbrella. So we looked into the nature-based solution, but focusing on the agriculture sector, which is for water more than 72%, and all the practices, agriculture, rain harvesting, tillage, and all of that. So it's the same, no new terminology, no redefining. And that's what I tried to say. IUCN, UNIA, we are just zooming into what has been said.
Thank you, Amani. It took a few more seconds, but I'll not penalize you. A big round of applause to our panelists and questions. Okay, you may have your seats. Apologies to the question from online. I'll share a link where we can keep interacting with these questions, and our panelists will reply to all your interventions. So for our brief closing remarks, I'd like to welcome Mr. Jean Boroto. He's our Senior Land and Water Officer and our FAO team leader here at this conference. So he leads the Global Framework for Water Scarcity in Agriculture, acronym WASAG. I'm sure some of you have heard about it. It's a partnership of mobilizing action towards collaborative solutions to resilient food systems despite climate change. Chartered career over 15 years, and he has served as the Senior Water Resources for Regional Office of FAO in Africa. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you, George. I would like first to congratulate my colleague Amani for convening this session and bringing together such a rich panel of experts from different institutions. I liked quite the last question about nature-based solutions and ecosystem-based approaches. And I noted that some of the panelists were also using them interchangeably. So I think the discussion continues. For me, I think as I was listening, and the challenge to convince politicians who are the ultimate beneficiaries of all our work, we need to tell them that the cost of inaction is greater. And the evidence is there when you look at ecosystems that have degraded because they were not being innovative enough to take into account the opportunities that these nature-based or ecosystem-based solutions do offer. So I think that discussion continues, and one key stakeholder that I would have loved to see here today would have been a representative from government. Of course, which ministry remains a question. Agriculture, from FAO perspective, environment, or water, or finances, but all of them have a role to play. When you're speaking about the issue of weighing your different criteria, I think it's an iterative process. You, as a researcher, in your computer with your researchers, you start rating your different criteria. But you need to do a reality check. The reality check is with the stakeholders. So once you design your project, you go and consult them. And you might find that what you think is important to you is not actually important to them. And as you implement the project, I think monitoring and evaluation is really critically important so that you keep on doing an iterative improvement of your processes. That being said, I think we don't have too much time. I think the future is bright. These new words that are coming, 30 years ago, I never heard the word resilience. But it's become now a buzzword, and it has a meaning. And I think the challenges that are upon us, the world population is increasing, climate change is on us, our lifestyles are improving, we are consuming more. So this is the way to go to make the most use of the natural resources that we are blessed with. Canada has got plenty of natural resources. The density in Canada is maybe among the human density, population density among the lowest. And then you find other countries, I'm not going to name any, which have up to 1,000 persons per square kilometer, where the imperative to be innovative and using nature-based solutions even greater. So Canada is an example because they don't have to do it really, but they are doing it, and we should follow their steps, and we should take into account the knowledge, the collective wisdom that was displayed here today. And I think integration is a keyword, collaboration is another. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have come to the end of our session. They can open the doors now. And let's keep the conversation going. So if you have a question or comment you'd like to pose to any of our panelists or presenters, please scan this QR code and the link. It will be open until the end of the month or so. And please leave your email for feedback. Thank you all and have a good day. Thank you.